I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Queen, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello. This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live worldwide from a secret mountain cave hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right, we're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, February 4th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's topic, conspiracy theory, is undoubtedly one of the most important episodes that I will ever do. Where did conspiracy theory come from? Where did the term originate? Why was it used for so long against people? And why does the governments of today want it to be abolished? What are they so scared of when it comes to critical thinking or conspiracy theories? We'll discuss all that and more here in just a moment, but first, today in history. A moment ago, I told you this is going to be the most, if not one of the most important shows that I will ever do here on the network. And the Today in History for today is equally one of the most special and important Today in Histories that I will ever have the honor and pleasure of presenting here on this network. And this network specifically, you see, on this day in 1854, Mr. Alvin Beauvais proposes the name Republican Party in the Little White Schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't know, this is extremely special to us here at the network because our flagship station is out of Ripon, Wisconsin, Ripon Common Sense Radio and RiponRabbitHole.com. So shout out to everybody over in Ripon, Wisconsin tonight. It's a very special night for us over there, and I really, really appreciate you guys listening, as well as the other 49 countries that we are listened to, but especially over in Ripon, Wisconsin tonight, as they celebrate this day when Alvin Beauvais proposed the name Republican Party in 1854, and that is today's very special Today in History. Man, I tell you, a lot of times it is hard for me to find a good Today in History fact. Some days there's just not a lot to choose from. But when I was going through the list and I found that on the list, I knew that is the one that I had to use. It's so very special to us here in Ripon Common Sense Radio, just the fact that it is connected to the little white schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin, and the Republican Party. And the Republican Party seems to be under fire a lot lately for what is called, quote, conspiracy theories. What's funny is the people calling them conspiracy theories, the other side of the aisle, are the biggest conspiracy theorists I've ever heard, and they come up with some goofy ones. But that aside, conspiracy theory, what is it? What does it mean, right? What does it mean to be a conspiracy theorist? Well, according to the Webster's Dictionary, the word conspiracy theorist is defined as a person that believes in a conspiracy theory. Well, that didn't help. Let's try again. What is a conspiracy theory then, according to Merriam-Webster over here? A conspiracy theory is a theory that explains an event or a set of circumstances as the result of a secret plot by usually powerful conspirators, or a theory asserting that a secret of great importance is being kept from the public. So let's break down these two words even further. Conspiracy, to conspire. So that means I'm planning something. If I'm planning a birthday party with my friend for somebody that doesn't know I'm planning it for them, I am committing a conspiracy. I am planning something with somebody else. That's all it is. I'm conspiring with another person. It doesn't have to be bad, evil, mean, rude, nasty, nothing. It can just be planning something with another person, or plotting, whatever word you want to use there. But it's not got to be necessarily bad. Now, most conspiracy theories that we hear of are usually very bad. And then theory, of course, because there's not always a lot of solid evidence to point to one way or the other. But the fact is, it's a person that critically thinks, that asks questions, that doesn't just accept the narrative they're given without questioning the narrative that they've been given. A person that realizes they've been lied to a lot by the mainstream narrative sources and just wants the truth. That is, in my opinion, a real conspiracy theorist, a critical thinker. But is conspiracy theory important, especially in today's world? The government is doing its best to abolish it, but why? Why are they so scared of it? Does it actually have a very legit importance in today's world?
I am here to ask a very simple question. What do you think about conspiracy theories? Some of you will be thinking about claims that the CIA have been harboring alien life on Earth for decades.
Which I don't completely doubt at all.
Others of you might be thinking of that secretive but strangely well-known organization known as the New World Order. Always up to no good, always being talked about in the media.
And in the last couple years, it has been made very clear that the New World Order and the deep state are very real and very much active in today's world.
And some of you will think of the claim that 9/11 was an inside job, not orchestrated by Al-Qaeda, but rather by George W. Bush and his cronies.
And I don't think there's many people listening to this show right now that would disagree with saying that 9/11, at least to some degree, was an inside job. That is at least my opinion of the facts.
Conspiracy theories are weird, right? Except most of us are inclined to discuss conspiracy theories. It's just that we do something like, we say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but, which often means we're a conspiracy theorist in denial.
That is so true. And, there is this weird stigma over the word. And does anybody know where the word conspiracy theorist came from? The word conspiracy theorist was actually created by the CIA, believe it or not. There's another conspiracy theory, right? But for real, it was created by the CIA back at the assassination of John F. Kennedy to discredit anybody that did not follow along with the given narrative that the government had put forward. So if you didn't believe their narrative, you were a kooky conspiracy theorist and a tinfoil hat wearing weirdo. However, this this stigma did not tend to work as well as they hoped that it would. And in today's world, you see a large amount of people who are critically thinking. If you critically think about something, if you question the JFK narrative and critically thought about all the facts that were presented, you might question the government's reason or government's answer to what occurred that day. And they didn't want that. They didn't want people questioning and finding out that it could have been something else going on. So they discredit everybody by just calling them conspiracy theories and acting like their opinions just did not matter. This later went on to the UFO group, and any paranormal pretty much studies now are considered conspiracy theories and weirdo, whack jobs. But as we know from listening to this show and going through the many case files that we've went through, these conspiracy theories usually more times than not turn out to be conspiracy facts.
And of course, this makes a kind of sense, because when you think about it, when we say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, we're often defending our conspiracy theory by simply saying, look, I'm just positing that maybe a conspiracy explains this particular event.
Now, let's keep in mind, conspiracy just means to conspire. Two people planning something. That's all it means. And it ain't necessarily got to be two. It could be 10, 15, 30, however many. But that's all it means is conspiring, to plan something.
And that actually does make a kind of sense, because we know that conspiracies occur, especially given those pesky WikiLeaks and NSA revelations. Our worry about conspiracy theories is that we don't know where belief in them is going to lead. Do we go down the rabbit hole once we start believing in conspiracy theories?
And this is where the critical thinking part comes in, because he makes a good point. People that are on the outside, the normies, if you will, that aren't into conspiracy theory, are scared that if they believe 9/11 was a hoax or 9/11 was an inside job, then they might have to believe that, aliens are real or reptilians are real or whatever conspiracy that makes them uncomfortable. They feel they may have to also acknowledge that if they acknowledge one. And once again, this is where discernment comes in, because not every single conspiracy theory is true. Some of them are just what the narrative has said. Very few of them, but some of them are. So I understand the stigma and the worry there of, if I believe this, then I might have to believe that, and that. Although it's a person that doesn't realize that they need to use their discernment in their beliefs. That has got a lot to do with conspiracy theory and critical thinking, is deciding what you're going to believe and what you're not.
I mean, we all know of wacky conspiracy theorists. There's this guy, David Icke. He believes in alien shape-shifting reptiles who control the world, drink our blood, and are emotional vampires of some kind. And his views have salience in our own little political sphere. This is the Prime Minister basically denying being an alien shape-shifting reptile due to a OYA request. He claims he doesn't own a green suit, he's never been in a flying saucer, and he got a vet to check that he wasn't actually a reptile. So it's important to note, John Kerr is not a reptile.
At least not by any standards of medical equipment that we have. That doesn't necessarily rule it out, though, right? I'm not as big on the reptilian conspiracy myself. I'm not going to say it isn't real. I'm just not as big on it.
Then, of course, there's Alex Jones. Alex Jones has a much more prosaic thesis about the world. He doesn't believe in alien shape-shifting reptiles. He believes we're controlled by the New World Order.
Now, I'm going to be 100% honest here, and I have a confession to make. Alex Jones, if you ever hear this, which I doubt he ever actually will, but I, for years, listened to Alex, and I took his words into consideration, but I always thought he was a bit hyperbolic. I always thought he was just a bit over the top with some of the claims that he would make. In the last 6 months, I have been able to verify a majority of the claims that Alex Jones has screamed about for 20 years about the New World Order. So let me personally apologize to Alex Jones on air live right now for doubting the amount of information the man put out. Guys, any other time I would have said, look, I don't know about Alex. He seems like all right, but let me tell you, Alex Jones has been speaking truth for 20 plus years. Everything the guy has said, as far as I know, with the New World Order stuff, is 100% true, and I've been able to verify a good majority of it personally. So I would definitely consider Alex somebody to keep an ear on. Alex, to me, is definitely a truther, and my apologies for doubting a lot of the stuff he has said, because I come to find out I was wrong, and it's true. I mean, if you look around the world today, it's not hard to see. It's all true.
And of course, within our own local context, there's Ian Wishart. He believes that anthropogenic climate change is a scam, that scientists are suppressing the truth of intelligent design, and that Helen Clark, a former Prime Minister of this country, was not under the control of alien shape-shifting reptiles, but rather lesbians.
So I don't know anything about that last claim. Not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. That said, climate differential, I think, is not as truthful as they would have us to believe. If you look at the solar system as well as other points in history, the climate differential is normal, more so than what they're trying to sell it as. And that is my opinion in the data just that I've seen.
Now, obviously, conspiracy theorists are weird, and therefore conspiracy theories are weird too. Right?
If you want to call critical thinking being weird, then I'm the biggest weirdo that has ever walked this earth, and I'll admit that.
Indeed, it seems that all conspiracy theorists ever do is engage in what we might call negative argumentation. And by negative argumentation, I mean they tell you everything you believe is wrong, and therefore all their conspiracy theories are in some way correct. And if that's the case, we don't want to count ourselves amongst those conspiracy theorists. Thus, we can happily get on with ignoring claims that say the NSA spies on everyone, that Cameron Slater ran black ops for elements of the National Party, and that the UK and the USA went to war in Iraq on a pretense.
One thing as a researcher that we must always keep in mind is a lack of evidence is not evidence of lack.
Conspiracies occur. Even the staunchest defender of the status quo is willing to admit that conspiracies do occur. It's that niggling worry we have. If I start believing one conspiracy theory, aren't I going to start believing all conspiracy theories? What's stopping us from buying that tinfoil hat? Well, the answer is philosophy. Specifically, thinking critically about conspiracy theories. I'm here to tell you that you can be a conspiracy theorist without becoming a David Icke or an Ian Wishart.
And that is critically important. You don't have to sound like you're off the rails to be a conspiracy theorist. You don't have to be screaming from the rooftops about what's going to happen to the frogs. Anybody who's watched Alex knows what I'm talking about there. But you don't have to be, you don't have to believe in reptiles. You don't have to believe the moon landing was faked. You can if you'd like. I'm not saying one way or the other. But you don't necessarily have to believe all the conspiracy theories to believe some of them, right? It depends on what you can prove in your own research.
And just look at my credentials. I wrote my PhD on belief in conspiracy theories, and there's my book, The Philosophy of Conspiracy Theories. If there's anyone you're going to listen to when it comes to the claim that conspiracy theories have a bad and unjustified reputation, then it's going to be me.
And I could not have said that any more brilliantly. Conspiracy theories have a bad and unjustified reputation.
Sometimes it's rational to believe conspiracy theories. Think of it this way. We all know people who vote for, say, our preferred political party, who couldn't give a good argument as to why to save their life. In almost any topic, in any field, there are people who believe things for what turn out to be bad reasons.
I think the current climate of the United States right now represents that statement extremely well. There are people who made a decision a couple months ago that to this day can't tell you a really good reason as to why they made that decision, right? They just know they did it because. And now we are paying the consequences of said decision, and a lot of people aren't happy about it. But it was a decision made for a bad reason, usually a spiteful reason, but they usually can't give you a good reason as to why they made the decision they made a couple months ago.
And yet we don't typically dismiss the entire field of atheism just because Richard Dawkins said yet another stupid or bigoted thing. Or at least we shouldn't.
You can never judge an entire group of people by one person. You must judge them by the actions of the entire group of people, at least the majority of the group of people, not just by one person. As he said, just because Richard Dawkins, an atheist, says something stupid doesn't mean that all atheists are bad people now. That one person doesn't necessarily represent the entire overall group of people.
In the same respect, the fact that there are weird conspiracy theorists out there doesn't actually tell us that belief in conspiracy theories is actually weird. All it tells us is that sometimes people believe things for bad reasons. Now, some of you will be going, hold on. Surely the reason why we're so skeptical about conspiracy theories is that most of them are not supported by the evidence. Now, I'm not going to disagree with that kind of sentiment. Everything we believe should be backed up by the evidence. And yes, there are plenty of conspiracy theories which fail to be good precisely because there is a lack of evidence that supports them.
And once again, I must reiterate, a lack of evidence is not necessarily an evidence of lack.
At the same time, there are lots of seemingly wacky conspiracy theories which, when investigated, turned out to be true.
Okay, here's another confession I have to make. So, you guys know I've been a conspiracy theorist and paranormal researcher for about 28 years, and they go hand in hand. If you study paranormal long enough, you run into the conspiracy theories and the government and things like that, especially with UFOs. So, it's not my first rodeo, right? I've been around conspiracy theories a long time. Well, for a while, the conspiracy theory being presented to me was that the TV is watching you, right? You're not watching the TV, not just watching the TV, it's also watching you. This one I had to shake my head at. I used what I thought was my discernment, and apparently my discernment's a little broken from time to time because I said, no way, that's just a little bit over the line for me. I really don't believe that the TV is watching me. I watch the TV. That's not the other way around. Come on now. It turns out that Julian Assange, a few years ago, released a large amount of documents on WikiLeaks. And in these documents, it showed that the TV is watching you. I had to eat shoe leather on that one, and I'll admit I was wrong on that, but it's one of those that sounded so far out there to me, so wild, so extreme, that I thought there's no way. This is one of those that's just kind of the kooky, unless I find evidence, I'm not really going to give it a lot of thought. I really don't personally think that's what's going on. And then the evidence come out, and that's exactly what was going on. The TV was both watching and listening to you, and it still does, by the way. If you own a Samsung TV, you are being monitored, just so you know. And they've admitted to this. But this one of those things that I always say, use your discernment, and sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're not going to be spot on. And it just comes down to what you believe and what you do not. What you are willing to say yes and what you are willing to say no to. What is your threshold of truth, right? The TV watching you, to me, was across my threshold. I didn't think that was, no way. Come on, that's just weird. That's extreme. There's no way the TV's watching me. And I was wrong. The TV was 100% watching me. So one of those times where, again, I confess, I was completely wrong. And you just have to use your own discernment. There was no evidence to back it. It sounded kooky. I thought, no way. Even as a conspiracy theorist, I thought that's a little extreme. But I was wrong. So it does happen. Even us conspiracy theorists get it wrong. The ones that we think are the most outlandish are a lot of times the most true.
Indeed, all it takes is a cursory glance at history to find examples of seemingly implausible and massive conspiracy theories, which turned out to be vindicated by the historical record. Take, for example, 1930s Russia. When it comes to plots and capers about Bond-style villains, Russia in the 1930s reads more like fiction than a Dan Brown novel. The lead character in this particular melodrama was Joseph Stalin, leader of the USSR, and one of, if not the greatest mass murderers of all time. In the 1930s, Stalin was obsessed that his former friend and now enemy in exile, Leon Trotsky, was conspiring to take over the USSR. Stalin asked the security police to investigate, and when they found no evidence of a conspiracy by Trotsky to take over the USSR, they manufactured the evidence.
Doesn't that sound strikingly similar to something that happened a couple years ago in the United States?
They arrested people, they physically and psychologically tortured them, put them on trial, found them guilty, and
again, a couple years ago, United States.
Then executed them.
There were no physical executions, however, character execution is definitely social execution that definitely did occur.
All to prove the existence of a conspiracy that did not exist.
Again, United States, a couple years ago.
Now, at the time, people who saw the available evidence said, look, these trial verdicts look like they're a bit of a sham. But to cover up their conspiracy, Stalin and his cronies called their detractors conspiracy theorists. And faced with dueling conspiracy theories, the governments of the UK and the US sided with Stalin and dismissed his detractors. And this turned out to be a mistake, because when Stalin died, his successor Nikita Khrushchev, one of the conspirators, actually admitted to the deception.
Again, it is really disturbing to me how much what is being said here aligns with modern current events going on around us. How detractors are now being called by other words that are much more legally applicable when they are nothing more than people that believe differently than the particular group that is in the power structure at the moment.
Conspiracy theorists use examples like these, which are more common than most of us are actually willing to admit. Say, look, there could be conspiracies going on right here, right now. And given what we know from the NSA revelations and from WikiLeaks, we should not dismiss these concerns lightly.
And again, WikiLeaks proved a theory that even I was scoffing at to be absolutely true. So, yeah, you definitely have to consider these things and not just dismiss them out of hand and blow them off because you just don't believe them. Trust me, I've done it once or twice myself and it was a mistake.
Also, it turns out that sometimes all you've got when it comes to explanations are rival conspiracy theories. Take, for example, the death of this man, Alexander Litvinenko. Some of you might remember the story. Back in November 2006, Alexander Litvinenko, a vocal detractor of Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin's regime, died after he was poisoned with polonium-210. Polonium-210 is an aggressive and vile poison, and it takes a very long time to die. It took Litvinenko 3 weeks to succumb to his poison, and in that time, he blamed elements within the Russian establishment, as well as Putin himself, as being in on a conspiracy to kill him.
And none of this so far is disputed fact. So far, all of this is accepted facts of the case.
Now, killing someone with polonium is an unusual form of assassination, given the sheer cost and effort it takes to obtain and refine the radionucleotide. And so it seems that it just doesn't seem likely that he was killed via mundane reasons, but rather a conspiracy. I.e., why didn't the assassins, if they just hated Litvinenko, pop down the chemists and buy a simpler, cheaper toxin like cyanide? So the question is, which particular naked Putin pictures, very easy to find on the internet. Why didn't the assassins pop down and buy a cheaper toxin? It just seems likely that actually his death is a result of a conspiracy. But which conspiracy theory about his death should we believe? Was Litvinenko killed at the behest of the Russian state as a warning sign to other vocal detractors that Putin can get you at any time? Or was Litvinenko a patsy for the Russian dissidence movement, a calculated death designed to foster tensions between the West and Russia. No matter the case, it seems that the only way to explain Litvinenko's demise is by reference to some theory about a conspiracy. We might not know which particular conspiracy theory is true, although people do have their suspicions, but a conspiracy theory is the only viable explanation for the death of Alexander Litvinenko.
Now, how interesting is that? No matter how you cut it, no matter which way it goes, some way or another, there was a conspiracy to kill this guy. There's a conspiracy theory about who was behind the murder of this man. Now, there's a couple different ones, as we heard, that are dueling, and we don't have the evidence to say which one is correct yet. But the fact is, no matter which way you cut it, it's a conspiracy. So conspiracy theories are not cuckoo whack job things. The government wants you to believe that a conspiracy theory is bad, and it's a threat to democracy, and it's a threat to the government, and a threat to the world. That is not true. And the only person that a conspiracy theory is a threat to is the ones behind the conspiracy. Now think about that. Who else would want to shut down those that are considered truthers? That's what conspiracy theorists consider themselves, truthers. That's what they call themselves. Let's be honest. That's what I call myself. And conspiracy theorists want just that. They want the truth. And they want to find out who's behind the conspiracy. They want justice. So the only ones that would be afraid of the conspiracy theorists are the conspirators. And unfortunately, there's a conspiracy against all of us with the clock right now. It is worked against us, and it is time for us to go ahead and take a network break right here, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be right back with the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show and more of this extremely important and special episode about conspiracy theories right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
How you doing on a Thursday night? Hi guys, it's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. I'm doing well. I'm loving conspiracy theory. If you are too, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. I'll be back again tomorrow night, Friday, February 5th, for an episode of Looking Up. Come along with me as we explore how to keep looking up and why it's important. That's tomorrow night, Friday, February 5th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then Saturday night, Think Like an Illusionist. An evening of magic and illusion with special guest Jason Byrne. I'm going to tell you, this guy is the real deal. He is an illusionist through and through. Now, he's not the comedian. If you type in Jason Byrne, there is also a comedian in Australia, very famous as well, Jason Byrne, comedian. That's not who is here. Jason Byrne, the illusionist. We're going to find out all about him, where he comes from, what he does, and how he thinks, and any suggestions that an illusionist has to share with you at home. So join me Saturday night, February 6th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and find out what an illusionist has to teach us all. Now, a lot of you know that Sunday is a really big night. Super Bowl Sunday, huge night, but not for football. No, it's huge because of the fantastic fun show. That's right, and because it's February, love is in the air. That's right, our interactive, fantastic game show, Family Fun Night, returns, our monthly installment for February. Get your heart on, because it's going to be Valentine's quizzes, puzzles, games and riddles so you can involve the one that you love. The point is, who will be crowned the February 2021 Fantastic Fun King or Queen? Will my life, DIY, stay seated on the throne? Or perhaps will somebody knock her down and take the crown? You can be a part Sunday night as we end out the weekend together. Now back to Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den Show right here on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the RiponRabbitHole.com.
Hello.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light,
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
to Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing a very, very important topic and an episode that is extremely special to me for a multitude of reasons, from the today in history just to the fact of what the episode is all about. And in the first half, we really dove into a discussion of why it is absolutely important to look at conspiracy theories with a fresh eye and not with the stigma that is laid upon us from society. And in the second half, we're going to touch on one of the most important reasons that conspiracy theories not only should but must exist. And to do that, we are going to start with one of the most well-known, if not the most famous conspiracy theories of our lifetime.
And then, of course, there's 9/11. No matter what you believe about what happened on September the 11th, 2001, in New York and Washington, D.C., you turn out to be a conspiracy theorist.
Now, I've done my best to avoid certain trigger words tonight, but I wonder, with all the different things we've brought up, what is going to be the card underneath this show, right? I don't know on the replay. I'm curious to find out, and I will be going back to look. I wonder which one they're going to choose to put the information card about underneath, right? We've mentioned like 5 conspiracies so far. Which one? Are we going to send the algorithm in overdrive? Is it going to be putting random ones on as people come on? I'm curious which one they're going to choose. Is it a conspiracy against truthers? You bet it is.
So, for example, if you believe that 9/11 was an inside job committed by George W. Bush and his cronies, then that's a conspiracy theory.
The leading, most popular conspiracy theory, however, even the narrative's a little questionable because, I mean, think about the narrative we were fed, right?
In the same respect, if you believe that 9/11 was committed by Al-Qaeda as retribution for American foreign policy, then that's a conspiracy theory as well. After all, the Al-Qaeda hypothesis posits a set of plotters who operated in secret towards some end.
Now remember, that was the official narrative of that story, that it was Al-Qaeda and the special plotters. So either way, it's a conspiracy. Either way, there are people conspiring to do it.
That is a classic definition of a conspiracy. In this case, a conspiracy to commit a terrorist act. The big thing about 9/11 is the question, which conspiracy theory is warranted by the evidence? And that's the big issue, isn't it?
So no matter which side you believe on that one, you're a conspiracy theorist. You believe one of the two conspiracies occurred, right?
Because sometimes conspiracy theorists put forward arguments and evidence in support of their claims of conspiracy. And in that kind of situation, we are obliged to follow the arguments and evidence wherever they go. So if someone puts forward an argument in support of a conspiracy theory, we are obliged to analyze that argument rather than simply dismiss it out of hand.
And that has become a big problem as of recent. You can show people evidence and they just dismiss it out of hand because it sounds like a conspiracy theory and you're just trying to prove your point. Well, yeah, I'm trying to prove my point. Look at the evidence. So it's really frustrating when you do present evidence and somebody dismisses it because it's part of a belief system they just don't trust. But there's an extremely valuably important reason why there has to be conspiracy theories, why people must look at this evidence. And this is of utter importance. And here is the reason why it is so very validly important to keep conspiracy theories among the conversation in society, hands down.
If we dismiss conspiracy theories just because wacky people like David Icke or Ian Wishart believe them, then arguably it becomes easier for conspirators to get away with their conspiracies. After all, if all conspiracy theories are bad examples, then of course anything that gets labeled a conspiracy theory, we can just push to one side.
And this is the trick that has been used by governments that want to silence people for years. And society has followed along with a lot of this, unbeknownst to them that they're doing something that's not helpful, but actually harmful to society. And you just, you label it a conspiracy theory, then you can just laugh at it and call everyone a crackpot nut and ignore the fact that there is a real conspiracy going on behind your back. And because you're just too afraid to look at the evidence or just want to label it as something so you don't have to look at the evidence, then you might end up in a position that when it's all said and done, you could have looked back and went, oh, they were right the whole time, right? And this has happened a lot recently. We'll get into that here in just a moment about all the different times that they've been proven right. But this is the point right here. This is why it is so very, very, very drastically important, because there could be real conspiracies going on. And if you just use conspiracy theory as a way to label people as a tabooed stigma, then you're going to miss truth that could have saved your life. And that's not even exaggerating. Literally could have saved your life if you would have just paid attention and listened to something you considered kooky because somebody else said it was just a conspiracy theory and you just didn't do your research.
It would be much better for public discourse if we were to consider conspiracy theories on their merits. Because I suspect, like me, you want to live in a world which you think is free of conspiracies. So, I am willing to embrace conspiracy theories. The question is, are you? Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Matthew Denneth there, ladies and gentlemen. He gave us a lot of great information tonight, and the reason why it is absolutely vital that we look at this information and look at conspiracy theories as they are, on their merit as conspiracy theories. And there's a good reason for this, because as he discussed in the first half, there's been quite a few that have been proven to be true. And we're going to go over just a few of those now before we close out tonight and just show reasons why conspiracy theorists believe a lot of the things we believe, because a lot of them have been proven true. And I told you the story earlier about me not believing the TV watching you conspiracy theory. Well, guess what? 100% true. People who called ufologists crazy in nutcases for years and tinfoil hatters, and those are just conspiracy theorists. Well, guess what? The government has released all the information they had, at least a lot of the information, and it turns out that was true too. And there's just two of very, very many that have turned out to be absolutely 100% true that were once considered conspiracy theory.
The idea that the CIA ran secret mind control experiments was treated as an insane conspiracy theory of paranoiacs up until 1995. That year, President Clinton issued a formal apology on behalf of the US government, revealing that the speculations weren't just morbid fantasies of unstable individuals. In fact, the experiments even had an official name, Project MK Ultra. In reality, the CIA was experimenting on US citizens from 1950 until 1973, using drugs, electronics, hypnosis, verbal and sexual abuse, as well as torture, to conduct behavioral experiments on unlucky subjects. Over 100 projects of this kind were run in over 80 different institutions, including prisons, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, and even universities. CIA Director Richard Helms destroyed most of the documents, which left a lot of what was actually happening a mystery. However, a lot of the information about this horrific project was brought to the surface with the Freedom of Information Act in 1977. The fact that no one has yet been punished for the committed crimes shows just how entangled the power play connected to this conspiracy actually is.
And of course, we've all heard, I'm sure at this point, of MK Ultra, or at least something about it if you've been in the conspiracy world for any amount of time. And for years it was considered just that, a conspiracy. And even in my lifetime, it was considered just a conspiracy until, like he said, Clinton finally come out and admitted, yeah, that was really a thing. And that was something that people got ridiculed over for many years, was that there was mind control experiments going on. Oh, whatever. The government doesn't use mind control. You're crazy. Turns out, not so crazy after all, huh?
There were many actual and many rumored attempts of assassinating Hitler during World War II, but a particular one made July 20th, 1944, a historical date. The conspiracy is remembered in history as Operation Valkyrie. The goal of the operation was to kill Hitler and his two right-hand men, Göring and Himmler. The plot was to use the continuity of government proceedings during an assassination on Hitler's life to take over full control of the government in Germany and subsequently blame the coup on the Nazi SS. Plans were set into motion with the recruitment of Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, who successfully infiltrated the highest ranks, getting promoted to attending military strategy meetings with Hitler himself. Stauffenberg carried a briefcase bomb with him and considered taking the chance several times, but backed out each time because not all of his targets were present. On July 20th, he finally took his chance and exploded the bomb inside Hitler's conference room using a remote detonator. Unfortunately, Hitler survived with only minor injuries. As a result, Stauffenberg and many of his fellow conspirators were executed.
Now, that one I did not really know that much about, but just the same, yet another conspiracy that almost occurred. Well, it sounded like it did occur and it failed and the guys ended up getting executed, but just the same, it was a conspiracy.
It's no secret that politics are a dirty game, but elaborate conspiracies, when they are true, are usually very well hidden. It's a rare occasion that a government plot is revealed to the public. One such conspiracy existed in the 60s, and its goal was to provoke a war with Cuba.
Okay, one thing that you find a lot in the truth community is flags of false nature, and I'm going to leave it at that, or flags of untrue descent. This is where an attack is done, but is blamed on someone else. So there's still things that happen, still bad things that happen, but the culprit isn't always who they say the culprit is. It's made to look like the culprit is someone else. I think we've seen an example or a possible example of that in our very recent history. That's my opinion.
America's top military leaders joined forces in coming up with a plan which would support a war against Cuba, but involve fake acts of terrorism on U.S. soil.
I want to reiterate that he just said the top military brass came up with this. This isn't five guys in a garage somewhere in the middle of Nebraska, okay? This is the top military brass's idea.
which would take a devastating number of innocent lives. There are existing and available documents which show that chiefs of staff of the US military had an elaborate plan of shooting civilians in the streets of Washington, D.C. and Miami, to name a few places. Bombings would be initiated and innocent people would be framed and found guilty of these acts of terrorism. An elaborate plan was created on how to stage a devastating incident in which it would seem as if a Cuban aircraft shot down a plane full of college students. Fidel Castro and Cuban refugees would be implicated, and thus a war would be justified. Luckily, President Kennedy rejected these plans.
The only thing that stopped them from pulling these particular events was President Kennedy. Think about that. Think about that for just a second. I would like you to remember the years of 2012 to 2016 and the amount of incidents and events that occurred during those 4 years, and the specific legislature that was trying to be pushed through the government at the time. And I would just suggest that if all these had to go through the president's final decision, that there may have been some decisions made by people that shouldn't have been made. And I'm going to leave it at that. And yeah, it goes to show that just because they didn't use it that time doesn't mean they haven't used it since. This is why a lot of truthers, and especially conspiracy theorists, look at different events when they occur and try to analyze and make sure there's no reason to believe that there is events of untrue nature as far as flags go.
Unfortunately, sometimes it happens that conspiracy theories about medication spreading disease aren't just plots of Hollywood movies or TV shows. A turn of events revealed a horrid truth in the United States. Close to 100 million Americans fell victim to vaccines containing cancer-causing viruses.
Again, I would like everyone to just think about the current events going on in the world as you listen to this report.
Information about polio vaccines tainted with the simian virus 40 was available on the CDC website for a short period of time before it was suddenly removed. The simian virus 40 is a virus found in some species of monkey. It's a polyoma virus, which can be found in humans as well, where it is considered a potential cause of tumors, although it remains a latent infection in most cases. The discovery of this virus led to a big reveal. It turned out that around 90% of children and 60% of adults in the USA were treated with SV40 contaminated polio vaccines and thus put at risk of developing tumors.
And do you think that they told the public at the time what was going on? Absolutely not. They treated it, I'm sure, like the best thing since sliced bread, right? It was the newest, biggest vaccine. Everybody's got to get it. That is the problem, isn't it? That is why the truthers question what is going on today. They've done the research. They know that there's something not right about the current events of today in relation to that last story. So keep in mind, if something bad is going on, which a lot of us are pretty sure it is, then there's precedent already set for that type of thing to actually occur.
The 1919 World Series are known in history as the scene of the Black Sox scandal. The Chicago White Sox created the biggest scandal in baseball history when they intentionally lost against the Cincinnati Reds. 8 White Sox players lost the game on purpose, working with gamblers for profit. The club owner Charles Korniski was known for underpaying his players and forbidding them from switching teams via strict contracts. This is what allegedly drove the players to look for a different way to earn money. 8 players were accused of plotting together with gamblers, although it remains uncertain to which extent each of the players was involved. The White Sox threw the game on purpose, but the conspiracy was soon brought to light, and the players faced trial. Although the 8 accused players weren't punished by law, they were all banned from playing professional baseball.
Now, up into the trial, how much you want to bet that anyone that said they threw the game or rigged the game was considered a conspiracy theorist and out of their mind and ridiculed, right? Until the truth came out? How much you want to bet?
Over the years, many have been very suspicious of the government, and the CIA is often a subject of conspiracy theories.
Actually, I would argue the CIA has been the center of a multitude of conspiracy truths, as we have already heard a multitude of tonight.
Every once in a while, it is revealed that one of the alleged conspiracies is actually true. A prime example of this is the so-called Operation Mockingbird.
Everybody listening to my voice right now, pay very, very close attention to what they are about to present right here.
This top-secret project was launched by the CIA with the goal of buying influence and control over major media outlets. It was with the Cold War underway that the CIA decided that control of the media would be a great weapon.
Quote, control of the media would be a great weapon, end quote. The CIA.
Journalists were to be put on CIA payroll, and although it is yet to be proven, many insist that this is still going on today. The list of appointed agents included journalists from ABC, NBC, CBS, Time, Newsweek, and Copley News Service. The CIA had successfully infiltrated the nation's business, media, and universities with thousands of operatives. The project ended with this scandalous reveal, or so we're told.
At this point, as many times as the government has been implicated in these things, or so we're told, yeah, you can guarantee your bottom dollar that never stopped, and actually, it has increased. I seen a video just about a week ago on YouTube, or it was actually on Facebook that I ran across it, that showed all these different individual market medias, your local news stations, your local Channel 2s and Channel 5s, all had this exact same message. You think what's happening on your local channels is individual and not touched by the federal government? You are so wrong. They are sending the same message across the country to try to convince people in their local hometown of things that they have no business convincing people of. And it's not the fact that they're trying to send a message out. I get that. But the fact that they're doing it so underhandedly, and it looks like it's just individual and single, and if you don't realize or have the thought to put it together, you'll never figure it out. Mockingbird Media is very, very much alive and very, very much real. They are using the mainstream media against the American people. They have basically decided to call a battle upon the American people when it comes to information and disinformation. And have you noticed that they're trying to install what they're calling a ministry of truth to decide what you can decide or what you can say and what you cannot. They decide what is, quote, fake news and what is not, end quote. Fake news. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen. The guys that are controlling the fake news are trying to control what is considered real or fake. They're trying to control the conversation of truth. That is dangerous to the umpteenth level, okay? That is very dangerous. And right now, they've infiltrated almost all of the media. That is why independent media is the most important media we have right now. Citizen journalists, independent journalists. These are the guys that are actually going to be telling the truth anymore, because the mainstream media has been so embedded in the Mockingbird program for so long with the CIA and government operatives that they are nothing more than the basically the propaganda arm of the government at this point. And anybody that dares to disagree with me, I'd like you to show me evidence to the contrary, because I can show you a lot of evidence to the proof of.
Pulitzer Prize Award winner Gary Webb is a journalist who gained prominence by exposing the CIA's involvement with cocaine trafficking. He was working with LAPD narcotics officer turned whistleblower Michael Rupert and the CIA contractor pilot Terry Reid. Webb's controversial piece entitled Dark Alliance was the most talked about piece of journalism in 1996 and the most infamous article of the decade. Webb revealed to the nation and to the world that the Reagan administration and the CIA were involved in cocaine trafficking in Central America. According to Webb, the government had been crafting in the trade of drugs. The money earned was used to fund the Contra rebels during the war in Nicaragua. The Contras were rebel groups active in the 80s and 90s. In the early stages of the war, the Contras were openly funded by the U.S. government. After the involvement of the U.S. was banned by Congress, the government eventually had to find an alternative way of funding the cause.
This is another one that for years people were called crazy when they said the government was bringing the drugs into the country. Everybody said the government wouldn't do that. You're out of your mind. What are you talking about? That's just insanity. That's a conspiracy theory. Where's your tinfoil hat at? Turns out it was right the whole time.
The CIA had yet another controversial project in the 60s and 70s. Secretly, the agency was developing the heart attack gun.
Guys, I said years ago that I think the CIA has gone completely rogue. I stand corrected. I know the CIA has gone completely rogue. They've been rogue for a long time. Now the rest of the agencies seem to be following their path. That is my opinion only. But this is why people have a huge problem with the CIA, and there's so many conspiracy theories around them, because a lot, or I would say pretty much all of the conspiracy theories around the CIA end up being conspiracy facts.
Taxpayer money was secretly used to develop this unbelievable weapon. Its existence was revealed in 1975 during a hearing committee led by Frank Church. At the hearing, Church actually presented the CIA's top secret weapon. The gun is electrically powered by a battery and fires a bullet of frozen water mixed with shellfish toxin. Once the bullet enters the target, it melts without a trace, except for a small red mark on the victim at the point of entry to the body. The bullet affects the body in such a way that the official cause of death of the victim is always ruled as a heart attack. The weapon was developed in order to allow CIA to commit assassinations that could never be traced back to them. This enabled the CIA to murder a number of people, with the deaths seemingly being innocent. Many believe that the weapon is still being used today.
And from somebody who has studied, again, conspiracy theory and paranormal for 28 years, I can 100% tell you that there's much more devious and dangerous weapons that they have now that they haven't even begun to disclose about. But the fact that this weapon admittedly now does exist, and they admitted it, what, in the 80s, I think they said? Then in a trial, nonetheless, that this was a real gun. I mean, come on. This is insane. They could literally create heart attacks by the shot of a gun. A lot of researchers have died suddenly and mysteriously at a very younger age of heart attacks when never having heart issues at all. Now, can that happen? Yeah, it can. That's not to say it can't just be a thing, but it's always very strange the timing that some of these people have had heart attacks, if you will. So, yeah, it would also allow them to use this on the citizens of their own country without getting caught. This is very, very dangerous. This is the reason conspiracy theories have to remain in the public discourse, because it comes down to truths that can sometimes be more than deadly.
In 1994, the Wright Laboratory, part of the U.S. Air Force, produced a 3-page proposal for a project with the draft name Gay Bomb. Wright Lab requested a 6-year, $7.5 million grant to produce a wide range of non-lethal weapons.
Okay, when they talk about kooky conspiracies, you just can't make this one up, ladies and gentlemen.
These scientists developed an idea which would allegedly turn all enemy soldiers into homosexuals. They wanted to create a bomb that contained chemicals which would make the soldiers affected by them irresistibly attracted to one another. The theory was that this would be a huge distraction for the soldiers and render them incapable of proper combat. This outlandish idea was just one in the line of many other questionable ideas, such as the bad breath bomb, and bombs designed to attract swarms of stinging insects. The Pentagon stated that they were interested in the development of non-lethal weapons, but the project in question was never approved.
That was a real proposal from a real scientist to the government. I I got nothing.
The notorious Order of the Illuminati is not fictional, as many today think. It was a secret society founded in 1776 in Ingolstadt by Adam Weishaupt.
And to this day, one of the most well-known secret societies of all time. I say one of because the Freemasons is the other most well-known secret society of all time. But seriously, the Illuminati, there's not a person who's studied and done the research that hasn't run across this group at least once. And though a lot of people do think that they're not real, like he explains here, they are very, very real.
Weishaupt was the first lay professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt. The Illuminati movement consisted of free thinkers, secularists, liberals, Republicans, and pro-feminists. The members were recruited in the Masonic lodges of Germany with the goal of opposing superstition, religious influence, and state power. In 1785, the order was infiltrated by government agents and allegedly broken down. Action was taken against the secret society for fear of them succeeding in overthrowing the monarchy and state religion. In the 18th century, it was suspected that the Illuminati was still operational, and they were blamed for the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror. The Illuminati were accused of being revolutionists, who were attempting to secretly orchestrate a world revolution in order to spread the ideals of the Enlightenment. Amongst those ideals are anti-monarchism and an anti-patriarchy. Since then, a number of influential people have claimed that the government never fully succeeded in breaking down the Illuminati, and that they are still operating. Numerous conspiracy theories are ongoing, and many people believe that the Illuminati have great control over the world even today.
And that's one that I don't even dispute a little bit, because they were called the Illuminati, but we know them by a different name today. They are still the Illuminati, but they're also known as the New World Order, or locally in our country, we know them as the Deep State. These guys are very real, very dangerous, and very much wrapped within the higher established powers that run countries, including ours. But what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think that conspiracy theories are valid? Do you think that there's a very, very important and very good reason why people have enough to stand up and say something is not right, whether it be flags of untrue natures, or whether it be people conspiring to do damage, or conspiring for whatever reason it may be? Conspiracy theories, are they valid? Are they real? Are they something that is needed in public and needed in people's discussion, and a very much a thing that needs to be looked at when they're brought up? Or are they nothing more than a bunch of tinfoil hat loons that think the whole world is out to get them, and that everything they're talking about needs to be relegated and labeled and ignored like the rest of society would have you to believe? In the end, I think we all need to do our own research. I think we all need to look at everything critically. I think we all need to question everything we're told, everything we find, everything we know, until we can verify what is truth and what is not. I think we all need to apply a little common sense to the mainstream narratives and to what is being sold to us as truth. I think we need to go against the idea of a ministry of truth, find our own truths, stand in our truth, and with a little common sense, ladies and gentlemen, in the end, you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right. That's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, February 4th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry. The weekend fun is only just begun. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you come back Friday through Sunday on RipponRabbitHole.com, Ripon Common Sense Radio, and Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, for AJ the Ripon Rabbit and the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. You do not want to miss this weekend. It is full, and I mean packed full of fun. Loads and loads. Check this out. Tomorrow, Friday, February 5th, 2021, AJ the Ripon Rabbit's going to be talking about the importance of keeping your eyes to the skies and keeping your head looking up. There's no telling what you might spot. We also might spot something very special that night on the show itself, so do make sure you tune in to find out if there's a surprise waiting. Then on Saturday, February 6th, 2021, make sure you tune in once again, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, to AJ the Ripon Rabbit and the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show, where he'll be discussing thinking like an illusionist. That's right. If you don't know, AJ the Ripon Rabbit has been a magic practitioner for many, many years, an illusionist of great, astounding abilities, and he'll be joined by yet another very wonderful and incredibly talented magician and illusionist, Mr. Jason Byrne. I am very, very excited for the both of those guys and can't wait to hear how that show goes. And it's going to be a show you guys definitely want to check out. If you like magic and the magic that surrounds the world, you definitely want to check this very magical episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show out, starring AJ the Ripon Rabbit, the other animal of radio here on Ripon Common Sense Radio. And he's on Sunday going to have a ton of fun. He's going to dig down into the wonderful world of the Fantastic Fun Show. It is the most fun you can have on radio. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Fantastic Fun Show. You can come join along to a very fun trivia game where there will be a winner at the end. A king or queen will be crowned as the winner of the Fantastic Fun Show and will be the Fantastic Fun Queen or King for that entire month. So do make sure you come check it out. Maybe you can unseat My Life DIY, the current reigning queen and CSFL champion, is definitely going to be trying to give her a run for her money to rip that crown back into his own hands. So if you want to give these guys a run for their money, maybe you can rip it away from both of them and you can become the brand new king or queen of the Fantastic Fun Show. And of course, it's the February version, so it's going to be full of love and Valentine's themed things, so it's definitely going to be a wonderfully loving and fun show. Do come check that out. I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to be able to participate. I'm going to be a little busy with my other job that evening, but it is definitely something you do want to come check out and maybe give these guys a run for their money and take the crown home for yourself, courtesy of the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Speaking of the Ripon Rabbit Hole, make sure you hop over to the riponrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Over there, you're going to want to sign up for the Backstage Pass. This is going to be your special pass to unlock all the goodies on the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Once you have a Backstage Pass, come on in and join us for a ton of fun. If you are tired of censorship on the mainstream media and you want to share your thoughts, views, opinions, or stories, come on over down the rabbit hole where the conversation continues 24/7. And you can find all of us rabbits conversing over there on our own version of social media, one that is not as heavily guided as other platforms that you may know about. Also, while you're over on the riponrabbithole.com, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. You definitely want to get signed up for this. You'll find out what our show topics are going to be from Wednesday to Sunday. We send an email out every Wednesday with all the information in it you're going to need. You can share this with your friends, you can share this with your family, you can share it with your friend's family or your family's friends. Either way, get the word out. We've got a variety of topics we talk about every single week right here on Ripon Common Sense Radio. So make sure you sign up for that newsletter. We do not sell your information. We do not keep your information. We merely send that information, send you that email out every week, one time a week. No spam, no craziness, nothing from us except wonderful information. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hop my own way over to the riponrabbithole.com and I'm going to go to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's where you're going to find me here in just a couple minutes. If you'd like to join me and continue on this particular conversation or anything you'd like to chat about, or if you want to come on over and just ask me questions, you're more than welcome to. Just click on the 24/7 Backstage Lounge once you've got your Backstage Pass. Scroll down the page, get in the Backstage Lounge and enjoy hanging out with us over there. There's only 50 seats, so do make sure you get in as soon as you can. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to do this very extremely special and important show for you guys. I really appreciate everyone being here. From our flagship station in Ripon, Wisconsin, to the 49 countries worldwide in which we're able to touch, we absolutely appreciate every last one of you guys, as well as our amazing admins in the YouTube, and everybody who works behind the scenes to make all of this possible. It's really a lot of hard work, and we're so very proud of every last bit of help we've had along the way. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you everybody for listening tonight to this very extremely special episode. On that note, on behalf of all of our admins, on behalf of Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Walt Howls, everyone involved in Ripon Common Sense Radio, we thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah! That's right.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonder